Piedmont in northwestern Italy has far fewer visitors than other Italian regions. Many of the most beautiful destinations in this region are still a real insider tip. Modest people, endearing originality, culinary delights and magnificent nature reserves attract relaxation-seeking soft tourism. Piedmont welcomes individual travelers who prefer family-run hotels and farms and appreciate and protect the local environment. To the south are the hills of the Langhe with their famous vineyards. Piedmont is world-renowned for its excellent wines and local delicacies. Everyone knows the top wines such as Barolo and the white truffles of Alba, Tartufo. The Piedmont region covers the northwestern part of the Italian Alpine belt. If you are in Piedmont, you will see the 4,634 meters high Monte Rosa on the border with Switzerland. The northern slopes of the Monviso are the headwaters of the Po. The valleys of the Po and around the Monviso are a beautiful hiking area in Piedmont. Further east, on the border with Lombardy, lies Lake Maggiore. It is a Mediterranean lake with beautiful private botanical gardens with palm trees on the shore. If you like this video, please support our channel with a comment, like or a subscription. Thank you. Lake Orta lies to the west of Lake Maggiore in Piedmont and is known as an idyllic, pleasantly quiet vacation spot. With an area of around 18 square kilometers, it is one of the smaller lakes in northern Italy. If you want to get to know the area in an authentic way, you should spend your vacation in the charming little towns on Lake Orta. Endless hours on the natural beaches, a stroll through the tranquil villages or an excursion into the untouched nature, Lake Orta is becoming increasingly popular with guests from all over the world. The wonderful combination of deep blue water, the Alps to the west and north and Monte Motorone to the east is truly unique. During their vacation on Lake Orta, visitors don't have to miss out on beautiful sights and impressive attractions. Guests should definitely visit the Sacra Monte d'Orta, which has been declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The towns of San Maurizio do Palio and Armenia are among the most popular vacation destinations on Lake Orta. Holidaymakers can experience characteristic palazzi, dreamlike villas and many small cafes and restaurants that invite you to linger and enjoy a great view of the surrounding countryside. We also recommend visiting the numerous national parks and nature reserves in the surrounding area during a vacation on Lake Orta. Guests can experience the exciting flora and fauna of the Western Alps up close in the Parco Naturale Monte Fenera. Asti in Piedmont is located in the northwest of Italy. The products from one of Italy's leading wine and fruit-growing regions, Piedmont, can be found in many European supermarkets. A whole new world of taste opens up on site in Asti. In the pleasant Mediterranean climate, the fine wines and sparkling wines taste even better. The region is famous for its white truffles, the finest hazelnuts, mushrooms and the best cheeses. Pasta and risotto dishes as well as beef and game complement the excellent cuisine of Piedmont. Gourmets will find their culinary paradise here. Hiking and cycling tours through the rolling hills and endless vineyards are made easier by the small wineries and a note case along the way. You should make time for long walks through the medieval center of Asti. The town center is very well preserved and is complemented by magnificent Baroque buildings. Worth seeing are, among others, the town towers and the Cathedral of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary from the 14th century, the Gothic Collegiate Church of San Seconda, the Rotunda of San Pietro, the birthplace and current museum of Vittorio Alfieri, a famous poet and son of the city, the Sant'Anastasio Monastery with extensive Roman thermal baths. Every fourth Sunday of the month, Asti hosts a wonderful antiques market, where you can also find regional specialties such as torrone, coffee and wine. A stone giant consisting of walls that erupt upwards in a seemingly endless sequence. A wall that descends from the summit of Monte Pianura at an altitude of 1,800 meters towards the valley. A grandiose, incredible, unique work that is known as the Great Wall of Piedmont. It is the fortress of Fenestrelle, which rises silently above the village of the same name. The nickname Great Wall of Piedmont comes from the fact that Fenestrelle Fortress is the largest alpine fortress in Europe. It is 3 kilometers long, rises more than 600 meters high and covers an area of 1,350,000 square meters. Inside is a unique structure, a 2 kilometers long stone staircase that is completely covered and connects all parts of the fortress. The fortress of Fenestrelle can only be visited as part of guided tours organized by the Forte di Fenestrelle Onlus Association. You can choose between 1, 3 or 7-hour experiences. However, the most impressive experience is certainly the nighttime visit, which is offered during the summer months. In addition to the mysterious atmosphere created by the shadows, visitors are accompanied by the theater performance The Story of the Old Walls, which brings the memories of the past to life before our eyes and accompanies us as we discover the fortress. The town and the municipality of the same name, Bra, are located in the province of Cuneo, in the Tonaro Valley. In Bra, almost everything revolves around food and livestock farming. The International Slow Food Association was founded here at the end of the 1980s. The aim of this non-profit association is to preserve and cultivate the culture of food and drink. Bra is also a member of Slow City. The main aim of this movement is to improve the quality of life. Livestock farming in particular has a long tradition in the area around Bra. People here are particularly proud of the Piedmontese cattle. Boletto is the Italian name, and its exceptionally good meat is known throughout Italy. Most breeders follow strict and traditional breeding rules. The cattle live on lush mountain pastures, and the Consorzio di Tutela della Razza Piemontese meticulously monitors the regulations. The spicy DOP salsiccia di Bra is known far beyond the borders of Piedmont. This sausage used to be made exclusively from beef. Today, some pork belly is also added to the beef. Salsiccia di Bra is eaten fresh and usually raw. It tastes best this way. The production of cheese in and around Bra is also traditional. The best known is the so-called DOP Bra cheese. This cheese has been produced according to the same recipe since the 15th century. Bra is used to make delicious pestos, as grated cheese, for gratinating or as a snack with wine. The Sona Valley is a narrow river valley lush with chestnut, oak and beech trees and dotted with tiny villages in the east of the Gran Paradiso National Park. Perhaps the most beautiful hiking areas in this tale of the national park are Lake Sirio and the Piene dell'Azeria Plateau with the San Besso Chapel north of Campaglia Soana. Ribordoni is a small village in a side valley of the large Valle Delico, which stretches along the River Orco and the entire southern side of the Gran Paradiso National Park. If you follow the Orco further west, you will reach the municipality of Locana, which has a visitor center dedicated to old and new professions in the Orco Valley. The route continues through the Orco Valley to Noasca, another small village with just over 100 inhabitants. The visitor center there deals with the geomorphology of the park and the impact of humans on it. A special natural spectacle awaits you at the Cascata di Noasca, a 32-meter-high waterfall that is one of the largest and most beautiful in Piedmont. Ceresole Reale is located at the western end of the Orca Valley and is one of the most beautiful places in the entire Gran Paradiso National Park. The Lago di Ceresole, which can be easily circumnavigated on a beautiful lakeside path, and the mountain lakes on the Col del Nivolet, Col Rosset and Col Lania plateaus are particularly worth a visit. The small municipality of Barolo looks like a sleepy place that has laid itself to rest in the warmth and proximity of the valley. However, there are actually plenty of beautiful things to see in Barolo. From the medieval castle to the vast vineyards, the town impresses with an Italian idyll, culinary highlights and plenty of culture. No one can really say when exactly Barolo was created. The only fact is that it is a very old place with Celtic influences. The town is an attraction in itself, as its location in the middle of the valley makes it the flower of Piedmont. While all other villages have to make do with a spot on the hills, Barolo is protected by the valley. The surrounding vineyards are characterized by heavy-bearing vines that hang full of tasty grapes. It is therefore no wonder that one of Italy's best wines is produced in this sheltered and sun-kissed valley. Barolo. In the village of the same name, it is particularly fun to enjoy a cool glass of wine, as the tranquility of the locals also extends to visitors and tourism has not yet reached this corner of the world. It is the unique story of the Sacra di San Michele, which was built on a rocky mountain peak on the border between the Alps and the plain. There is a place in Piedmont that you wouldn't expect. A magical and surreal place, mysterious and fairy tale-like, which takes us back to the Middle Ages. The laws of physics and gravity seem to have been suspended. The Abbey of San Michele was built at the entrance to the Susa Valley in the 10th century, on the precipice at the top of Mount Piedmont. The impression that this ancient monastery leaves on visitors is truly astonishing. Even from afar, the building appears in all its solemnity, full of spirituality and fascinating for its thousands of years of history. The sanctuary is dedicated to Saint Michael the Archangel and is part of a pilgrimage route of over 2,000 kilometers that leads from Monte San Michele in France to Monte Sant'Angelo in Apulia. Its creation goes back to a person who came to Italy to seek redemption after a rather difficult past. It was Count Hugo von Montboissier, a rich man and nobleman from Auvergne. He came to Rome to ask the Pope for leniency and was given the choice between a 7-year exile and the construction of an abbey as penance. And so, at the end of 900, work began on the construction of the monastery, which was then entrusted to 5 Benedictine monks and soon became an important stopover for pilgrims. Saluzzo is known as the capital of the former marquisate that ruled southwestern Piedmont from 1470 to 1547 and secured itself a place of honor among the great European empires of the time. Traces of this noble heritage are still visible and well preserved in the beautiful, medieval old town. The town is a succession of cobbled alleyways, ivy-covered walls and elegant noble palaces with magnificent painted facades, dominated by the Castilia, the former castle of the Marquises. It is now home to 2 museums that are unique in Italy, the Museum of Chivalry and the Museum of Prison Memory. Nearby is the Casa Cavassa, now the Municipal Museum, an excellent example of the Saluzzo Renaissance. Inside, it preserves precious antiques, the grisaille frescoes of the heroic deeds of Hercules, the work of the Flemish painter Hans Klemmer, and his magnificent Madonna della Misericordia, who protects the marquises of Saluzzo and their court with outstretched arms. A stroll through the streets of the town and soak up the historic atmosphere, window shopping in the lively pedestrian zone or sipping an espresso in an elegant pavement cafe, these are genuine impressions of a small town with a human touch. From June to October, a series of festivals, music and cultural events make a stay in the city even more worthwhile. A ski area of superlatives is located in the Italian-French border region with its 400 kilometers of slopes. The Via Lattea, Milky Way, unites the winter destinations of Sestriere, Sorsdo, San Sicario, Cesana, Pragilazio and Claviere near Turin and the French ski resort of Montgenèvre. The ski resort became world famous during the 2006 Winter Olympics, as a large part of the competitions were held there. 69 lifts take winter sports enthusiasts to over 200 slopes between 1380 and 2800 meters, where every winter sports enthusiast can find a run to suit their taste between larch and fir forests. As the ski areas are connected by lift, vacation guests can access the ski area directly in the villages. The village of Sestriere is located in the heart of Via Lattea and is certainly the most famous part of the ski area, where the rich and famous also descend time and again. 2 hotel towers, which were commissioned by Fiat founder Giovanni Agnelli in the 1930s, dominate the skyline and have become the landmark of the winter sports resort. Ski World Cup events are regularly held on the mostly red and black slopes. Alpine competitions were also held here at the 2006 Olympic Games and Paralympics. Skiing in Sestriere is not only possible during the day, but also in the evening. The Giovanni Alberto Agnelli slope is floodlit until 10 p.m. Alba's location alone makes the town a destination with a romantic factor. The wide fields full of wine and the Tonero River invite you to take long walks in the countryside. The town center, on the other hand, pulsates with life and the cheerful Italians spread a lot of good humor. Alba was once known as the city of 100 towers, and for good reason. Around 100 towers have shaped the cityscape and underlined the status of the wealthy noble families. Even today, some of the towers have been preserved and are still a popular destination for residents and visitors to the town. The paths to the towers lead through narrow alleyways, past loudly gesticulating Italians, well-stocked restaurants and small stores. The sun often shines in Alba and the small town is a truly charming sight at any time of year. The vines thrive particularly well around the town. The result is an excellent wine that enjoys a very good reputation far beyond the borders. But it is not only the vines that grow well around Alba. White truffles are also regularly harvested here. Various dishes with the tasty truffles can be enjoyed in the town's restaurants and bars. After dinner, you can take a stroll through the alleyways, visit the stately villas and walk up to the cathedral, which stands proudly in front of a spacious square. The west of Lake Maggiore lies entirely in the Piedmont region. The western side of the lake has always been the region's flagship. Since the end of the 18th century, wealthy aristocratic families from Milan have chosen the western shore as their retreat and vacation home. It is no wonder that magnificent Art Nouveau villas and grand palaces were built here, which still characterize the area today. The western shore should actually be divided into the upper, middle and lower lakes. The Italian section of the upper western shore stretches from the Swiss border to Giffer. Here the lake is still in its full alpine splendor. The mountains here are very steep and densely forested, a magnificent sight. The small villages, some of which are nestled into the rocks, are enchanting. Life here is still very rustic and runs along traditional lines. Cannabio is one of the most beautiful places on the lake and a tourist magnet. Beautiful pastel-colored house fronts from years gone by are lined up along the lake. The wrought iron balconies give the houses from bygone eras a special appeal. In the evening, the lakeside road becomes a pedestrian zone. Cozy restaurant terraces invite you to dine. The middle section of Lake Maggiore is also the widest part. Here the lake reaches almost 10 kilometers. It opens up to the Borromean Bay with the famous Borromean Islands. The coastal strip extending between Laser and Casaletto sopra Ticino and the hinterland, which stretches from the Motorone mountain in the north to the southern tip of Lake Orta, is known as the Lower Lake. The landscape of the Lower Lago is very attractive. The Alto Verganti mountain range that runs through here reaches a maximum height of around 800 meters. The Val Grande National Park is the largest wilderness area in Italy, covering around 15,000 hectares of land between Lake Maggiore, Val Canobbina and the Orsola Valley. The rugged and rocky mountains have always preserved the ecological integrity of this splendid area of the Orsola Valley, thanks to the difficult access to the park. In fact, there are only a few passes that can be crossed on foot, and were used in the past by shepherds and forest workers, and today give access to an uninhabited and untouched realm of wild nature, a true natural sanctuary. The Val Grande National Park is a paradise of biodiversity thanks to its diverse vegetation and the variety of flowers that bloom there. Chestnut and beech forests alternate with much rarer species such as alpine columbine and southern alpine tulip. There are many protected animal species in the park: chamois, red deer, foxes, badgers, marmots, stone martins, hedgehogs, dormice and squirrels, as well as black grouse and golden eagles. Trout, which find an ideal habitat in the Val Grande National Park due to the pure water. Padum, Promen, Corni di Nibbio, Cima Sasso and Cima Lorasca are some of the most famous mountains in the Val Grande National Park. All are made of dark green to blackish rock, which is extremely hard and weather-resistant and has become the unmistakable symbol and skyline of this wild area over the years. The Ricetto di Candelo is an impressive collective fortification that was built in the 14th century. It is considered one of the best preserved fortresses in the Piedmont region. The town is a member of the association Most Beautiful Villages in Italy. Covering an area of 13,000 square meters, the Ricetto di Candelo consists of around 200 small country houses that are remarkably well preserved. This structure is unique in Europe, as it has retained its original function as an agricultural depot, particularly for the storage of grapes, wine and grain. The fortress walls surround the entire Ricetto, with the exception of the southern side, where the Palazzo Comunale is located, a neoclassical building erected in 1819. There are 4 round towers at the corners of the town plan, which were originally opened to facilitate defensive measures. The only entrance to the Borgo was on the south side and was protected by a large gate tower. There were 3 more towers to the north. If you leave the Ricetto, you will come across the Church of Santa Maria, which is located near the Roggia Marchesa, a canal that has supplied the surrounding fields with water since 1561. The church was first mentioned in 1182 and has an attractive Romanesque facade made of river stones. The Ricetto di Candelo is a living testimony to medieval history that has retained its original function and architectural charm for centuries. Casale Monferrato is not only a city of art, but also an area rich in tradition, history and culture. Here you will find noble residences, historic palaces, monuments, churches and famous castles built in the Monferrato hills. The historic town centre bears witness to the past of Casale Monferrato and its most important monuments, with the castle, the high civic tower dating back to the 11th century, the cathedral, which is one of the greatest examples of Romanesque and Gothic architecture in Piedmont. Also worth seeing are the palaces of Mameli Street, such as Palazzo Trevilli in Baroque style, and the synagogue in the Jewish quarter of the city. Rice fields characterize the lowlands of this area. Among the hills there are many companies that produce quality wines from local production, as well as the possibility of farm or winery vacations. The industrial area also played an important role in the past, as it went down in history with the cement sector during the Italian Industrial Revolution. The development of cultural, recreational and social activities is supported by important facilities, such as the rich library, the theatre, the museum and the plaster sculpture cabinet, a well-known historical archive, as well as the modern sports facilities. The northern Italian city of Alessandria has around 95,000 inhabitants and attracts many guests with its exciting sights and numerous events. The region in the idyllic surrounding area presents itself from a very original side with extensive natural areas and a picturesque, Mediterranean landscape. If you decide to spend your vacation in Alessandria, you can always take a trip to the Tonaro or the Bormida. The beautiful river courses and the attractive riverside promenades invite you to enjoy the sun and relax. The city's small squares are also ideal for soaking up the historical atmosphere of the city and relaxing over a good meal. Thanks to its pleasant climate and numerous attractions, Alessandria is well worth discovering with the whole family. Alessandria is known for its medieval buildings, which are very popular with residents and visitors alike. In addition to the Palazzo del Municipio, the imposing Duomo di Alessandria is a must-see. The cathedral was built in the 13th century and impresses visitors with its neoclassical architecture. One of the city's most important attractions is the Cittadella di Alessandria fortress, which is now used for various events. The provincial capital of Vercelli is home to many historical relics and buildings from centuries past. Art and culture are not neglected in the town either. In addition to the opportunity to visit ancient buildings, you can also visit museums. When you think of rice cultivation, you usually think of China or India. However, rice is also grown in Europe and exported all over the world. Vercelli is even the largest transshipment point for rice in the whole of Europe. The rice culture is familiar from Asia, where the workers wear large straw hats and stand in water up to their calves. In the Po Valley around Vercelli, however, you can also see lots of rice fields that belong to the Lomellina rice-growing region. The necessary water comes from the tributaries of the Po and is fed to the individual fields through numerous canals. There used to be a huge swamp area here, which was drained by monks and could then be used for agricultural purposes. From an economic point of view, rice cultivation is the most important factor for the town of Vercelli. As the climate in the Po Valley is particularly mild, it is ideal for growing rice. The focal point of the town is Piazza Cavour with the striking Torre dell'Angelo. The 16th century neoclassical Cathedral of St. Eusebio is also located here. The medieval buildings in Gothic and Renaissance styles are also worth seeing, as is the 13th century Basilica of Sant' Andrea with its beautiful cloister. The interior is dominated by the early Gothic style, while the exterior is in the Romanesque style. Novara is a large city in the north of Italy with more than 100,000 inhabitants and is the capital of the province of the same name. The city was founded in ancient times and has an eventful history. If you spend your vacation in Novara, you can admire historic buildings, enjoy the Mediterranean climate, and go on an extensive shopping tour through the old town. The numerous cafes and restaurants in the city's picturesque squares invite you to sample the local specialties. Novara combines the amenities of a modern city with many interesting sights and a wide range of recreational activities. An excursion to the surrounding characteristic villages or a dinner with a view of the city's magnificent palazzi. Novara is the ideal destination for an unforgettable vacation. The landmark of Novara is the impressive Basilica di San Gaudenzio from the 12th century. It has many works of art and is primarily known for its magnificent 121-meter-high church tower, which dominates the cityscape. Also worth seeing is the Broletto, Novara's historic market square, with the Palazzo dei Paratici and the Palazzo del Podestar. The palazzi now house the Galleria d'Arte Moderna Art Museum. The tranquil small town of Ivrea is located in the province of Turin, partly on hills, partly in the plain at the foot of the Serra, to which it owes its name, and at the center of a large morainic amphitheater. The inhabitants are called Epiridiesi, which can be traced back to the ancient name of Ivrea Epiridia. Ivrea, the capital of the Canavesi, had developed into one of the most important industrial centers in Piedmont thanks to the Olivetti Company. With the decline of Olivetti, small, technologically advanced companies developed in and around Ivrea, giving the city a new economic and employment structure in Italy. The three most important sites in Ivrea are the Olivetti Center, Ivrea Cathedral and the castle, which is situated on a small hill. Ivrea is famous for its unique, historic carnival, the Battaglia dell'Arance. This spectacular custom has its roots in 1808, when the Napoleonic rulers decided to merge the various carnival celebrations into one big event. The highlight of the multi-day carnival in Ivrea is the traditional Battle of the Oranges, in which thousands of people are divided into different groups and throw oranges at each other. The oranges symbolically represent the tyrannical rule against which the people are rebelling. The festivities, Italy's oldest carnival, last for several days and also include colorful parades in historical costumes, music, dancing and traditional culinary specialties. In Cuneo, the Piedmont region in northern Italy presents itself from its natural, original side. The city has around 60,000 inhabitants and lies at the foot of the Maritime Alps, which characterize the city's relaxing climate and laid-back atmosphere. Those who choose a vacation in Cuneo benefit from the well-kept recreational areas near the city center and the idyllic surrounding countryside. One of the most important sites is the charming Old Town, which boasts numerous beautiful buildings, inviting squares and small restaurants. A stroll through the city center, a detour to the Parco della Resistenza or a tasting of the delicious Cunese al rum. Cuneo was founded in the 12th century and attracts countless visitors with its characteristic palazzi and imposing villas. The magnificent buildings in Piazza Galimberti in particular are a must-see during a vacation in the city. The 17th century Duomo di Cuneo, for example, is extremely impressive and features both neoclassical and Baroque architectural elements. Also worth seeing are Villa Oldofridi Tadini and Villa Tornaforti, which is surrounded by an impressive park. During a vacation in Cuneo, we recommend exploring the striking mountains of the Maritime Alps to the west of the city. A popular excursion destination is the Parco Naturale dell'Argentera, where visitors can get to know the Mediterranean flora and fauna and enjoy the outstanding views. Biella lies at the foot of the Italian Alps in the province of Biella in the Piedmont region with a view of snow-covered mountain peaks. Biella's eventful history has shaped and continues to shape the cityscape to this day. The first settlers were Celts and Ligurians. The Romans founded a town here and gave it the name Bugella Civitas. Today, the inhabitants of the town live from the fashion and furniture industry. If you visit Biella and take a walk through the town, you will regularly come across evidence of times gone by. In the city center, near the cathedral, you will discover a building that does not look at all like the other Renaissance buildings. The brick building appears squat among all the tall buildings. Several apses and a compact tower suggest that it is a place of worship. In fact, You are standing in front of a Romanesque baptistry that was built in the 7th century. If you walk around the baptistry, you reach the modern Piazza Duomo with the large Cathedral of Biella. The cathedral appears simple and almost inconspicuous on the huge square. However, when you enter the interior, you are overwhelmed by the murals from the 15th-17th centuries and the unique interior decoration. The small town of Novi Ligure has a well-known sweet product, the chocolate brands Novi and Pernigotti. Between the southern Monferrato and the foothills of the Genoese Apennines lies Novi Ligure near the Scrivia River Valley. Although located in Piedmont, the name indicates its proximity to Liguria. The area once served as a weekend residence for wealthy Genoese. Numerous palaces of wealthy noble families can be found in the town center, many with painted facades. The heart of Novi Ligure beats in Piazza del Piani and the surrounding alleyways, which are free of traffic. The palazzi of the Negroni families and Palazzo del Piani in Piazza del Piani with a neighboring 13th-century church of Santa Maria Maggiore are particularly impressive. The Palazzo Negroni, to the left of the church, is richly decorated and has 2 meridians above the entrance door. In the middle of the historic center is a hill that was strategically developed as a defensive castle. A few foundation walls and the tower still remain of the former castello. The castle hill is the local recreation center of Novi Ligure. Paths in the forest lead to the highest point, the tower. There is a cafe and a climbing park through the treetops for different ages and levels of difficulty. Anyone can master the course here under professional guidance. Verbania was only founded in 1939, when several towns such as Intra and Palanza were united to form the town of Verbania. This can still be clearly seen in the cityscape today. The city on Lake Maggiore has several centers and old towns. In between are the gardens and green spaces. Intra is one of the districts of Verbania, which was a separate town until 1939. In our opinion, the old town of Intra is the most beautiful part of the lakeside town. It starts directly opposite the road along the lake. The narrow streets and colorful houses, typical of the area, are worth seeing. Here you can go for a walk, eat an ice cream, go shopping or stop off at one of the many nice cafes. There is a lovely promenade right on the shore, ideal for a stroll. Several kilometers from Intra is Palanza, another old center in Verbania. It also has an old town center and a chic promenade. The palace on the waterfront is also worth a visit. A large botanical garden, one of the most beautiful botanical gardens in Italy. The Giardini Botanici Villa Taranto is home to almost 20,000 species of plants, an incredible number for a botanical garden. As most visitors are particularly impressed by the flowers, it is best to visit in late spring or summer. But other plants such as trees are also great. The Monte Rosa mountain massif is located in the Piedmont region on the border with Switzerland and is part of the Valais Alps. It is primarily known for the Pic du Fort, which at 4,634 meters is the highest peak there. The mountains attract countless visitors every year with their idyllic mountain scenery and magnificent views of northern Italy. The Monte Rosa Massif has a total of 10 mountains over 4,000 meters high, which are becoming increasingly popular with holidaymakers. Those who want to experience the striking Western Alps from their original side will find fantastic glaciers and imposing mountain slopes here. The Valais Alps are a true winter sports paradise and impress holidaymakers with their rugged nature and magnificent views of the surrounding valleys. A hike along the secluded trails or an excursion into unspoiled nature, the Monte Rosa Massif promises holidaymakers plenty of rest and relaxation. One of the most popular vacation resorts in the Monte Rosa Massif is the town of Dorsula, which was founded by the Romans in ancient times. Today, it has around 20,000 inhabitants and impresses visitors with its cozy atmosphere and idyllic little squares. From here, vacationers can easily explore the impressive natural spectacles in the Parco Naturale Alta Valsesia. It is considered the world's highest nature reserve and has many peaceful hiking trails as well as rare animal and plant species. The town has an exact date of birth, November 12, 1243. On that day, the vicar of Emperor Frederick II and the mayor of Alba decreed that a new town should be built on this high plateau at the confluence of the Tonero and Stura rivers, which was given the name of an existing settlement in the area, Clarascum. Korosko was a fortified citadel from the very beginning. Numerous banners flew alternately over the town, starting with that of the Angevin, followed by the Visconti from Milan. Together with the county of Asti, they made Korosko a dowry for Valentina Visconti, the fiancée of Louis of Orleans, the brother of the French king. Having become French, Korosko entered a long period of wars, sieges and famine, which only ended with the peace treaty of Cateau-Cambrésis, 1559, under Savoy rule. This was followed by a long period of reconstruction, which allowed the city to flourish economically over the course of the 17th century, thanks to the great families who rose to prominence in the city, mainly due to the production and trade of silk. Large palazzos were built or renovated, as were religious buildings. A new, modern city wall was built, the so-called star-shaped one, the work of the court architect Vitozzi. There is not a single palazzo in Korosko that cannot boast of having hosted famous personalities, including Napoleon Bonaparte, who defeated the Piedmontese troops in Mondovì in 1796 and took up residence in Palazzo Salmaterris to dictate his terms. The king accepted the truce and so Piedmont was annexed to France. Of course, the city has changed. It has lost most of its city walls and the large production of silk spinning mills has been replaced by other interests. These include tourism, snail farming and the tradition of antiquarian bookshops and flea markets. The charming town of Savigliano, with around 21,000 inhabitants, has a long history dating back to Roman times. The town is located at an altitude of 320 meters on the River Mira, tributary of the Po, around 50 kilometers south of Turin. The name of the town is probably derived from the Latin sabulones or sabalio, which could refer to the sandy or gravelly soils typical of the Po Valley. It is believed that the Romans founded a settlement in this area, which served as a strategic post to control traffic between the Po Valley and the Alps. A prominent feature of Savigliano is the Piazza Santore di Santa Rosa, the heart of the town, which is surrounded by magnificent buildings from different eras. The piazza is a lively meeting place for locals and tourists and offers numerous cafes and restaurants where you can discover the local cuisine. The architectural highlight is the Chiesa Abbaziale San Pietro, which was built in the Baroque style. Its imposing exterior and richly decorated interior are a testament to the artistic heyday that Savigliano experienced in the 17th and 18th centuries. Another remarkable church in Savigliano is the Chiesa Sant'Andrea, which was built in the Romanesque style. The church is known for its beautiful frescoes and artistically designed facade. The name Turin stands for the capital of the province of the same name in northwestern Italy. It may be a little further to the sea from here, but the surroundings and the city itself quickly make up for this distance. Turin only needs a few minutes to leave a lasting impression on visitors. Turin is best known for the production of cars, as it is home to the Fiat factory, whose lively small cars are so often associated with the relaxed life in Italy. Holidaymakers can get an overview of the vastness of the city from the Lingotto building, from where you can even see the Alps on a clear day. The cityscape itself is characterized by large palaces, castles and residences of former rulers. Turrets, battlements, columns and illuminated masterpieces of architecture can be seen again and again on a stroll through Turin. Turin's landmark is the Mole Antonelliana building with its impressive height of 167 meters. However, if you want to go up to the viewing platform, you don't have to climb several hundred steps, but are taken to the top in an elevator. With the Palazzina di Caccia Stupinigi, Turin is home to a building that has been designated a World Heritage Site. The reason for this can already be seen from the outside, as the palace seems to have been taken from a Walt Disney story. Things get exciting in the Duomo di San Giovanni in Turin, as the famous Shroud of Turin is exhibited in the church building, an artifact that has occupied church representatives and conspiracy theorists for centuries.